Hi guys, this tutorial has been requested by TeZLa Game. He wanted a first-person shooter item pickup system where item pickups are bound to a key press. So we're going to be doing a lot of blueprint work with this one, so not very much special effects for you guys that like all that, but we're going to hop straight into this. I'm going to walk you through every single thing. We're going to require two meshes. These are just some really basic things I've just thrown together in Max. I haven't even bothered to unwrap it because I'm just using an unlit material, so shadows don't matter. Woohoo! And we have another one to represent a shield. I'll provide these to you guys. So the first thing I'm going to do is quickly make a material for each of these. I'm going to call this health_M. I'm going to open this up. I'm going to change this to a translucent unlit material. I'm going to hold 3 for a 3 vector, M for a multiply, 1 for a constant. I'm going to plug the constant into opacity and I'm going to set this to 0.5 because I want this to be slightly see-through. I'm going to make this just green. I'm going to change the multiply to a 3 and I shall plug this into the emissive. Yay, apply and save. Next I'm going to double click the health pickup, and now over here in the LUD you can find a base material and you want to put in the material we just made. Ta-da! And if we save that, now every time that we drag one of these into the level it will default with this on the mesh. So I'm just going to quickly duplicate the health pickup material. Words are all over the place. I'm going to call this shield_M. I shall open this up real quick and I'm going to change the color to be a yellow. Come on, all the way, there we go, yellow. Apply that and save. And the same deal, I'm just going to open up the shield mesh and I'm going to give this the shield material by default. Okay, so that's our items prepped. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to create a, what should we do first? We'll start with the user interface because we haven't covered any of that in any previous videos, so it's going to be quite an important one. If we right click and we scroll down, you'll find a user interface, and here you'll find a widget blueprint. Now I'm going to call this one PickUp_widget. Now if we double click this, yay, we get the user interface editor. Now this is a canvas, so this green box is a canvas, and here on the right hand side you can see we have a canvas panel here. This is our hierarchy, so anything that we want to add, we can add this straight to the canvas and then it's bound to within this canvas here. Now we can add another canvas, so if we add another canvas panel, come on, don't be like this, we can add another canvas panel. Then we can have this canvas separate of the original canvas, and we can put things within the second canvas. So you make a hierarchy. So they're all within this one, but everything else is within the main one. But I'm going to get rid of those because I don't want them. All I want is a text block, which is just text. You don't want text box because that allows players to type in. You just want a text. I'm going to put this about middle, and I'm just going to set over here on the right hand side where it says text, press E to collect, and I'll leave that as it is. I'm just going to drag it ever so slightly to here. Now I'm going to grab another text and I'm going to put this into the same canvas panel. I'm going to drag this one to the same place, just make this a little bit longer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and line these up, so if I just make these about the same size, yep, and just move this around a little bit so that they're just about lining up. Yeah, we go. Now what I'm going to do is this one needs to be changeable for what we're going to do. So with it selected, on the right hand side here you'll find content, and then next to text in text block you'll find this bind button. If we create a binding, you'll be taken to this bind screen. Now we're going to use a variable here to determine what that text is going to say. So in variables, add a variable, we're going to change this to text, And now I'm going to quickly compile it, and for testing reasons I'm going to set the default value to no item, and I'm just going to quickly rename the variable to item underscore type. I'm going to drag this out and get it, and I'm going to plug this into the return value of the return node. I'll compile that, and that is this widget finished. This is a user interface widget. Now I'm just going to quickly see about visibility, and here if you click the canvas itself over here in visibility, we're going to set this to hidden because we don't want this to be seeable by default in game. So we're going to close that down. Now we're going to right click, we're going to go down to user interface and make another widget, and we're actually going to call this player UI underscore widget. Now in this one I'm going to drag a text. I'm going to just scroll this out. Now you'll notice this flower here, this is an anchor, so you'll notice that it's getting percentages. Now what the anchor does is wherever anything is, so this is now anchored to this point. If you rescale the resolution of your game, the anchor will stay within the percentages that you can see on screen now, so it will always remain 37.4 to the right and 32.5 down, and it will drag anything that's anchored to that to be in exactly the same point percentage wise as it is now. So I'm just going to keep this up here in the top left hand corner because I don't want this to move if I change my resolution. Now this text block excuse me, I'm going to type health and a little parentheses, that's not a parentheses, health. What is that? Come on brain, catch up with me. It's a colon or semicolon. I always confuse them, dyslexic, you know how it is. I'm going to copy this and paste it really quick. Paste it into the canvas. I'm going to grab the new one and drag this down, and in this one I'm going to put shield instead of health. Now I'm going to create another text and put this into the canvas, and here I'm just going to leave it right about here, and I'm going to create another. I'm going to drag this down to about here. And now, same deal as before, what we need to do is we need to bind these to a variable. So with this one selected, which is going to be our health, I'm going to create binding, variables, add a variable. I'm going to change this to text. I'm going to name it health. I'm going to compile this, and under the default for testing, I'm going to set this to not read. I'm going to drag this out and get it, and plug this into the return value. I'm going to head back to the designer. Up here on the right hand side you can switch between the graph and the designer, so I'm heading back to the designer, grabbing the second blank text box, and I'm going to bind this. Now don't bind this to get text underscore 0, we need to create a new binding, and we're going to add a new variable for this one, and we're going to call this shield. It should still be defaulted to text, but if it's not, set it to a text. I'm going to compile this. I'm going to call this not read as well. Well, I'm going to default the text to not read. I'm going to get this, plug this in, and compile that. Now, I'm going to leave this one set to visible inside the designer. So if we click this, I'm going to leave this set to visible because I want this to be on screen at all times. I did not compile that. Let's reopen that and compile. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to make sure that these are actually being used. If we press play, you can see I'm not getting my user interface. Oh no. So we're going to open the level blueprint. You're going to right click, event begin play. Now what we need to do is we actually need to tell the widgets that in this level they need to be drawn. So I'm going to drag from this, and I'm going to create widget. Now I'm going to select my player UI by typing in to the class player underscore UI underscore widget. The owning player, this is single player, so I don't need to to actually give this, if you have more than one player, you're going to have to create a widget for each player and then plug each individual player pawn into this point. Now I need to drag from this and add to viewport and plug the return value into the target. Now I'm just going to quickly copy and paste the create widget, and this one I'm going to call the, which one did I call it? Pickup. Yep, pickup underscore widget. And now add that to the viewport as well. And it will compile, and if we play, I now have, you see up in the corner, a health and shield. They both say not read because they're not receiving any data. We haven't made that yet. But you can see in the top left corner I have health and shield. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to make the item. So we're going to right click, blueprint class, actor. I'm going to call this pickup underscore BP. Now the way that we're going to set this up is the blueprint itself is going to be 100% customizable as you need it. So we're not going to need a blueprint for health, we're not going to need a blueprint for shield or ammo or anything else that you could require. We're going to build them all inside one blueprint, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So we're going to open this up, we're going to add a component, we're going to choose static mesh. I'm going to call this default underscore item. Now I'm not going to bother putting anything in, and you'll see why. I'm going to add a component, I'm going to type box, and we should get a box collision. Now this default size is quite nice right now, so I'm just going to have to see this in level. So I'm going to drag this out into level. Yep, it's too small, so we're going to open this up, and with the box we're going to resize this. So maybe, let's try 2, if we just put 2 in all the values. Why have you gone to 22? You're so excitable. Let's compile that and see how that looks. Yeah, it's a nice size, because we don't want the character to be able to pick them up from too far. Of course, if you want them to have a longer pickup range, then you go ahead and you can make this box bigger. Now, what we need to do is, we are going to go to the event graph, and we are going to go to variables, and we're going to add a variable. Now we're going to call this item. No, we'll call this item underscore mesh, because we don't want to get confused. Now in variable type, type in static mesh, and you'll just find this one here that's just static mesh and reference. Now this has got no mesh in it. Here, now if we click this little eyeball, you'll make this variable public and it will be able to be edited as you need. We quickly compile this. It's set to none by default. That's fine. We don't really want anything in there by default. Now on event begin play, actually grab the default item from up here in the scene root. Now drag from this, and we're going to set mesh, and we'll get set static mesh. Event begin play, plug this in, and what we're doing is we're setting the mesh, and we're going to grab item mesh, get that, and we're going to plug that into new mesh. So at the beginning we're going to set the mesh that's inside the blueprint to the item mesh. The item mesh is blank, but we have made this public. So if we compile this really quick and we go back to the level, if we click on the blueprint, you'll notice here now in the right hand side under default we have item mesh. This is the variable that we made. Now I'm going to grab the health mesh and I'm going to plug this in, and now if we begin play, because you won't see it here, it now has the correct mesh inside. Now just to show you that this works, I'm going to grab the blueprint and I'm going to hold Alt and drag. Do I have my mouse on? Is mouse on? Mouse is on. I got paranoid. So there we go. We're just gonna leave that there. You're gonna see the OBS pop up. It's fine. I didn't think I had mouse on for a split second. Now you'll notice here in item mesh we have the health mesh in this one. I'm going to choose the shield mesh and plug that into this one. And if we select the first one, it still has the health mesh inside. If we press play, we now have one of each. Yay! One of each. Okay. Now I'm going to open the blueprint back up, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this a little bit of animation. So I'm going to drag from the static mesh, I'm going to add timeline, I'm going to leave this plugged into play, I'm going to double click the timeline, add a new float track, I'm going to leave it as 5, add a key, at 0 I want 0 value, and then at 5 I want a value of 1. The reason we want a value of 1 is because we are going to right click and we're going to lerp rotator. Okay, now we want to plug the new track into the alpha, and under the rotator we want to leave the A as 0, 0, 0, but the B we want to put to 0, 0, 360. You can see where this is going, perhaps. Now what we want to do is we want to drag out our default item. We're going to drag off of this and set world rotation. We're going to plug the lerp rotator into the new rotation. We're going to put update into the set world rotation pin. And now, excuse me, I'm going to right click. I'm going to create a custom event. Add custom event. I'm just going to call this reset anim. I'm going to plug this into play from start on the timeline, and from the finished, I'm going to call reset anim. So when the animation resets, it will trigger this custom event, which will start the timeline again. Now if we compile this and we go into the level, you'll now see that the items are rotating, and they'll continue to rotate. Yay! Okay. So now they're all looking really nice. What we need to do is we are going to, because right now these do not know what pickup they're using. You know what pickup these are using, but the blueprint itself doesn't know. So what we're going to do is we're going to create what's called an enumerator. Now, which bit is enumerator in? Blueprints, I believe. Yeah. So under blueprints, enumeration, and we're going to call this item underscore list underscore enum. Basically what an enumerator is, it is just a list that a blueprint can use. So we're going to press new, and we're going to put health. We'll press new again, and in this one we're going to call it shield, and I'm going to save. You can add more for whatever items that you need. Now what I'm going to do is inside the pickup blueprint I need to add a new variable, and I'm going to call this item underscore type. No, actually I won't put the underscore, no underscore. It's an ugly underscore. Now inside the variable type, I'm going to type what we just typed. I'm going to type what we just typed. Yep. Good work, brain. So what's this? It's item list enum, and you'll find the enumerator. Now if we compile this, you'll notice over here in default value we have the two things that we put inside of our list. We are going to make this public. I'm going to compile it, and now if we select our blueprints in the level, you'll notice we have item type. So I have the health mesh in, and this is set to health. Here I have the shield mesh in, and it's set to health. I need to set this to shield. Okay, now you'll see why this is all going to come into play in a little while. I'm going back into the pickup. Do I want event tick for this? Nope, I'm going to delete event tick and get rid of these comments. Go away. So, event actor begin overlap. Now we need the player character, so we're going to call to, no we're not, we're going to cast, my mistake, cast to first person character. Other actor is going to get placed into object, so it knows that these two are interacting. And then I am going to, let's see. Yes, okay, so from the first person character we need to get all widgets of class. Now the widget that we're going to be getting here is the item widget. That's not what I called it. See, what have I called it? Pickup widget. So pickup widget. There it is. Now the reason we're doing this is because we need this blueprint to communicate with the widget. Now we can't just bring a reference to that widget in without getting all widgets of class. This gives us an array. This square thing here, this series of squares means an array. Now an array is a list, so like I can get the array. So it's like, yay, get the array, and then I can put a number in here to get a specific number. Now I only have one of these, so I'm going to just drag from it, and I'm actually going to, for each loop, for each loop, plug get all widgets of class into this. And now what this does is it essentially lets us break down every item in the array and do something with it. See here we get array element. This means one specific piece of the array. So it's going to look at everything in the array and let us do something with them all. There's only one thing in the array. So there's only one thing this is going to actually have any sort of influence on. So what we need to do is, from the array element, we're going to set, and here we have item type. I called it item type. Set item type. Okay. Now this is for our second user interface that we so far haven't seen. I'm going to plug the loop body into this. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab our item type. I'm going to get this. Now I can't plug this straight in here, so I have to change this. I need to string. Oops. To string. So we have to string, and then we can plug this in, because string will convert to text. Now I could have left this as string to start with rather than text, but this is how I did it in my test earlier, and it was working lovely, so I'm not going to mess with it. Then what we need to do is, from the array element here, we're just going to drag out and set visibility. We're going to plug this in, and we're going to set visibility to visible. Now what we need to do is end overlap. Oops. So event actor end overlap, and we're going to, we need to cast, come on, we're going to copy and paste that. We're going to cast to the first person character. We're going to get all widgets of class, which is the same, and then for each loop, and then we're just going to copy get visibility, and we're actually just going to set this to hidden. Now if we compile this, if we play, if I get close enough to an item, nothing. Now then, perhaps it's because of the way that I've done things inside of here. It's because I've set this to hidden at all times. So I'll set this back to self, hit test invisible, and then on the event graph, event construct, set visibility. I'm going to just leave this as hidden here. It's possible I've skimmed over something at some point. There we are. Yeah, it's because I was collect 0, collect 1. So you can see that it's changing collect 0 here, collect 1 here. Now this isn't what we need. So item type is working, and we're getting it into a string. So what I'm going to quickly do is I'm going to quickly drag from this, and I'm going to print text, and I'm just going to insert a print text in here, just so that I can see what this is collecting. It's collecting 0. Now why is that collecting 0 rather than the actual text? These are typed correctly. This is using the correct enum. It's possible that there's a little bit more to add a little bit later on for that one. Nope. So why are you giving me a number rather than what you are? You are curious. So for this, I'm just going to quickly break here, and I'm actually going to promote this to a variable. Just for testing, I'm going to expose that, and I'm going to type this in health, and then the second one, I'm going to type in shield, health and shield. Okay, so that's working now. So rather than have this exposed, we are just going to rename this. Let's work around this, guys. Come on. We're going to call this item text. I'm going to plug this into there, and then what I'm going to do is quickly delete those. And I'm going to go for an event tick. And every tick, I'm going to set that to string. Whoops. Oh, I am a silly sausage. That's what I did. I saw what I just did. Okay, let's get rid of that. So, silly mistake. I'm going to drag this out again. My enum, I'm going to get this. Now you'll notice I gave this a toString byte, which converts it to a byte value. Now I don't want a byte value, because bytes are just numbers. What I need is toString, and you have this one here, which is enum to string, which looks like a little piece of paper. That's the one that I want, and I want this to go to, well, I can just drag this straight into the text. Boink. And if I compile this now that should work. Yay, health and shield. I accidentally clicked the wrong little thing, and because in here these conversions just look the same unless you float over them, I hadn't spotted that. Okay, so that's fixed. See, I make mistakes. It happens. But I'm gonna leave that in, because mistakes are good. They get us to experiment. Right. So I believe now we are finished with the pickup blueprint. Now, of course, if you need more items, you're going to have to put more items in your list, but this should still suffice for however many items you add. Because you can change the mesh, you can change the enum, you can do everything with this single blueprint. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make our character able to use these. So I'm going to edit the first person character, and now I'm going to quickly give him a couple of variables. I'm going to change these to float. This one I'm going to call health, and another one I'm going to call shield. Compile that really quick. I want him to start with 100 health, and then shield I'm going to have him start with 50. I'm going to compile that. Now right click, event tick. So basically every tick I'm going to get widget of a class. Now this one is his user interface, and I think we call that, yep, player UI widget. So now we're going to update what's happening on the widget. So again, from the array we need to loop. So for each loop, and again this is only going to find one thing inside the loop, but we need to do this to get this pin. And we are going to set health, and we are going to drag out again and set shield. We're going to plug this in like so, and then we're just going to get health, plug this into the health, and this will convert a float to text for us. And we're going to get shield and plug this into the shield, and now we'll compile that. And if we press play, instead of it saying not read, there we have a couple of numbers up there. Can I quickly disable all screen messages? There we are. So now you can see health 100, shield 50. Now we still can't collect these, but we're still getting the nice user interface update, and you can see it disappears when we leave. So there we are. Now we have to do the very last thing, and this is what lets us pick them up. So we're going to go to blueprints at the top. We're going to open the level blueprint. Now we are going to go to our keyboard, and we're going to find the key that we want. Now I wrote E, so I'm going to use E. So when we press E, we're going to get actor of class. get all actors of class, and now we're going to use our pickup. So pickup BP. This is going to create an array. So yay array. I'm going to say is overlap. Oh no, we need a loop. My mistake. Derp for each loop. So for each loop, plug this into the execute pin. Now from the array element, we're going to say is overlapping, and we want is overlapping actor. My mistake. No, we don't. Is overlapping components. No. Okay, let's do it this way. Grab the third person character, and then inside the level blueprint, right click and create a reference. Is overlapping actor. This is the one I want. I put the first person character into the other, the array element into the target, and now we're going to branch. I should have turned off context sensitive there, silly me. Plug the is overlapping actor into the condition. And now, if this is true, we are going to branch again. Excuse me. And then from the first person character, we're going to say, what was the name of the enum? Get. We're just going to get, and if we scroll down, I should be able to find it. No, where's the, there, well, it's there. Whoops, okay then. You Windows just don't want to play ball. It's not the first person character that's controlling the enum, it's the pickup. So yes, we need to go back into the blueprint. Come on, level blueprint. Oh, here we go, the windows have broken themselves. Get off. And blueprint, there we are. So from the array element, get, we should have our enum, there it is, item type. And now from here we're going to say equal, and we're going to get this one at the bottom, equal enum, and this will give us a list that we can change rather than having to type things in. And we shall plug this into the condition. Yay! And from the true here, we will go to our first person character, drag out, and we will set health. Plug the true into set health, and again drag from the first person character, and we're going to get health. And from the health we will say float plus float, and now give this the amount of health you want to reward. I'm going to put 50. I'm going to plug this into the set health here. Should drag this back real quick. And from the false on the branch, we're going to branch again. This time from the item type, we're going to equal enum again. This time we're going to set this to shield, and we're going to put this into condition. From the first person character, set shield. From first person character, get shield. And from the shield, I'm going to float plus float. I'm going to award 25 shield for this. I'm going to plug this into the set shield and plug the true of the branch into that. Now, for each item, you will just lead off of this branch with another false and then another piece of the list. And this now is controlling item pickup. And then this is just our widgets. Okay, so I'm going to quickly compile this. Now if we go into the game, collect health or collect shield, I'm going to stand next to the health and press E, and you'll notice it's giving me 50 health. Now I'm at 200, 250, 300. I can go to the shield, and it's adding 25 each time, lots of shield. Now we just need to go back into the level blueprint. I'm just going to make this comment box a little bit bigger, and then from the set we are going to put destroy actor and plug both of these in, and then we're going to drag the target and plug this into the array element of the for each loop. So it will look at which one's been overlapped, and it will destroy whichever one we're within. So there we go, and you'll see it still adds to the health of the shield. Now for the sake of testing, I shall quickly grab these, drag them back and back a little bit more so that we have a few variants, and now I'm just going to, there we go, and you'll notice that's collected that one. We can try this one next, and you'll notice the others are still there, and it's adding things as we require. Now, if you want to have, say, a maximum HP or a maximum shield, we can go into the first person character again, and we can just say variable. We can say to float, we call this max stat. We're going to compile this. Say max stat is 200, so nothing can go above 200. We'll compile that again. Then what we're going to do is we shall go into the level blueprint, and here at the end we're just going to drag these forward a little bit, and from the true of each branch we're going to create a new branch, and we shall go to the player character and say get max stat, and we're going to say less than is equal to or less than float 200, no, 199. We need it to be below our maximum ever so slightly. So now if the max stat is, no, my mistake, plug max stat into the bottom and then plug health into the top. There we are. So we're saying is health less than, or just use less than, yeah, then we'll add the thing. If not, then just destroy. We can test it out really quick with HP. So let's see, I have 150, we have 200, that still adds it to an, because we have the equal or less than. We just need this to be less than, so less than float. Plug that in, and then there, and that should do it. So 150, 200, 200. So now it can't go above, and we would do the same for the others. So blueprint, open level blueprint, and we can just copy these, plug the true in here, get the false and put the false into here, and we can say shield, oops, we need to get the player and plug that into there, and then shield into here. Come on, there we go. Now if we compile that and quickly test this, then we shouldn't be able to get, oh, we were only going to get, I need more shields, I need more shields. Shield, shield, shield. There we go. Let's quickly give these a little testing. Oh no, it's no longer a square, that drives me mad. 75, 125, 150, 175, 200, and now I can't add any more. Cool. Now, you'll still add if you are below 200, so if you're at 199 shield, you'll add 25 shield. So what we need to do is we are going to quickly say event tick, we'll say branch, and then we're going to say from the player character, we have shield and health here already, so we'll say if health is greater than, and then we're going to plug max stat into the bottom, and we'll drag out of this and we'll say or, so we're getting or boolean, and we're going to do this again. No, we can't do it like that, because otherwise it will reset HP even. So if health is this, if health is greater than max stat, then we want to drag from the player character and set health to 200. Or we could just plug the max stat into that. Come on. Let's say false, and then again we will do the same sort of thing where we branch multiple things, and from here we will set shield to a maximum of 200, but this time it's going to be if shield is greater than max stat. And plug this into here, and there we go. So we'll just quickly drag this down and we'll comment stat limit, and there we go. So that will stop you from ever going beyond the cap. Now you could use these nodes multiple times, like I've used this a billion times and I have a lot of spaghetti. I can see through the spaghetti, so I don't mind having this much spaghetti running around on the screen, but there's no problem with taking this node and if you wanted to then just multiplying it down here and having a second version of this, just to keep your screen neater. I know there's people at my university that would wish that I keep my screen neater because the spaghetti drives them insane, but it's colourful, I like it. So there we have it. You now have a customizable health pickup that will change 2 different user interfaces with button prompt on screen, a stat cap, and a 100% customizable pickup blueprint using enum. Thanks for paying attention. It feels like it's been a long one, so it's probably one of my longer ones. It is a little bit complicated, but you guys can do it. It's not too much. Thank you very much to TeZLa Game for requesting this one. It's been fun to put together. I'll send you guys the meshes in a Google Drive. I'll put a link in the description. I'm not going to send you all the other stuff. You got to build it yourselves. So thanks for watching. See you next time.